Outside, the news of Lan Wangji's arrival spread through Lotus Pier like wildfire. Someone abruptly dropped their sword with a loud clang. Heads turned, and the disciples practicing on the training ground couldn't stay put, eager to catch a glimpse of the legendary second young master, Lan, the famously esteemed husband of their senior brother. They chattered, wondering if their senior brother was awake yet and if they should go and wake him up. One particularly eager boy enthusiastically knocked on Wei Wuxian's door. "Senior brother, second young master Lan is here." The sight of the two bodies entwined like twisted vines on the bed hit his eyes like a shock. He was stunned for a moment, then stood there completely dumbfounded. Wei Wuxian lifted his head, his gaze shifting back and forth between the boy and Lan Wangji for a moment. His eyes widened. With a loud thud, he fell off the other side of the bed onto the floor. "Sorry, I didn't see anything," the boy screamed as he ran off. Lan Wangji remained silent for a while, then got up from the bed and reached out a hand to help Wei Wuxian. Wei Wuxian's expression gradually cooled from the shock. Supporting himself on the floor for a moment, he said in a low voice, "You, go out." Lan Wangji's hand hovered in the air. Wei Wuxian's chest heaved slightly, and with a voice suppressed in anger, he repeated, "I said, get out." Lan Wangji remained silent. Wei Wuxian enunciated each word clearly. "From now on, without my permission, do not step into my room, not even 1 foot." Eventually, Lan Wangji left and the door slammed shut behind him. For the entire day, Wei Wuxian did not appear in front of Lan Wangji. This continued for several days. Whenever Lan Wangji arrived somewhere, a figure in black would quickly leave. Lan Wangji remained silent. Every day, as soon as he woke up, he would promptly go and wait outside Wei Wuxian's door. Whenever Wei Wuxian opened his door, Lan Wangji's expression would flicker slightly, his movements suggesting he wanted to speak but stopped himself. Then the door would slam shut abruptly. Moments later, a black cat-like figure would dart out of the window and escape. The two of them seemed to be playing a game of hide-and-seek, one always searching, the other always fleeing. Sometimes, when Lan Wangji cornered him, Wei Wuxian would angrily leap to the roof, not even leaving Lan Wangji a glimpse of his back. Everyone stared in amazement as the two chased each other relentlessly, neither giving an inch. Soon, watching this game of cat and mouse from the eaves became a regular pastime at Lotus Pier. The youngsters would sunbathe under the warm sunlight with handfuls of seeds, their eyes and necks moving in unison with the black and white shadows, getting plenty of exercise for their vision and necks. So, did he catch him today? I vaguely saw him almost touch his hand, which really annoyed the senior brother. "You lose. Hand over the money." The senior brother really despises Lan Wangji. He'd rather die than say a single word to him. But I heard from someone that on the day Lan Wangji first arrived, the two of them were all cuddled up in bed. That's nonsense. Lan Wangji is truly persistent with the senior brother. I heard from the sect leader that when the senior brother committed the serious crime of theft, Lan Qiren was furious and forced Lan Wangji to write a dismissal letter. But he refused to do so no matter what, and even knelt in front of the ancestral hall for 7 days and nights. Lan Wangji isn't as bad as the senior brother says. He's handsome and makes a perfect match with the senior brother. What kind of person is the senior brother? He's like a reincarnation of a peach blossom spirit, and it's only someone as tenacious as Lan Wangji who could manage to pursue our senior brother. Lan Wangji's determined persistence didn't go unnoticed by the people of Lotus Pier. Before long, the general sentiment started to shift. Whenever Wei Wuxian caught wind of such gossip, he would give those involved a serious beating. "Enjoying the show, huh? Have you practiced your swordsmanship? Finished your lessons? But senior brother, you clearly haven't been practicing either. Are you really avoiding Lan Wangji, or are you just playing around with him?" The youngsters were swept off their feet by a surge of red spiritual energy and landed on the ground for barely 2 seconds before receiving punches on their heads. Each one had a swollen bump on their head and wailed for mercy. Every time Zhang Yanli passed by, the boys would roll over to her like they were granted a reprieve, huddling under the hem of her skirt, trembling, finally being spared. Jiang Cheng watched coldly. "How long are you planning to keep him hanging?" Wei Wuxian replied, "Until he goes back home." I refused to believe that the dignified second young master Lan would actually stay without leaving. The day after Wei Wuxian said this, Lan Wangji started showing up for morning classes. Originally as a guest, and with nobody daring to approach him, he had been wandering alone in Lotus Pier for several days. He had been having his meals in the guest room. When he couldn't find Wei Wuxian, he would return to his room and quietly read and write on his own. That day, a white-clad figure appeared on the spacious training ground, adorned with shades of purple. Lan Wangji, dressed in light robes with archer sleeves and holding beechen, brought a crisp scent of sandalwood that pierced through the sweet, lingering lotus fragrance of the early mist. The crowd instinctively parted to make way for him. Lan Wangji clasped his hands in a formal salute. "Uncle Jiang." Wei Wuxian twitched the corners of his mouth. Jiang Fengmian smiled slightly and formally introduced Lan Wangji to everyone in Lotus Pier. He then patted him on the shoulder and said, "Wangji will be staying at Lotus Pier for a while." Concerned about falling behind in his studies, he requested to attend the morning classes, and I agreed. The Lan clan's swordsmanship is renowned among the major clans, and even at a young age, Wangji is a standout within the Lan clan. I have seen his swordsmanship. It is quite impressive, not inferior to that of your senior brother. Moreover, the Lan clan is known for its strict and rigorous teachings on conduct and etiquette, which we can learn from. Wangji is diligent and steadfast, embodying the essence and demeanor of the Lan family. In terms of both character and swordsmanship, you all should look to him as an example. Lan Wangji bowed again. "Uncle Jiang, you flatter me." Jiang Cheng raised an eyebrow. "Father seems to be quite fond of him." Wei Wuxian pressed his lips together and remained silent. Jiang Fengmian asked, "Who volunteers to spar with Wangji?" The junior disciples grinned and looked at Wei Wuxian. The bolder ones began to cheer and chatter. "Senior brother, go on! Let's see who's better between you two." The sixth junior brother rushed to his side. "Yeah, senior brother, don't hold back." "You little brat!" Wei Wuxian sidestepped and brandished his sword in a mock gesture of a powerful slash. Behind him, the sixth junior brother screamed and ran away. After trading a few curses, Wei Wuxian looked up to meet Lan Wangji's quietly observing gaze, paused for a moment, then twisted his lips into a smirk. He held the sword by its hilt, crossed his arms, and stood there with an indifferent attitude. A hint of disappointment flickered in Lan Wangji's eyes. Seeing that no one else stepped forward, Jiang Fengmian decided to take matters into his own hands. Lan Wangji bowed once more. After the salute, Lan Wangji unsheathed beechen and began with a series of sword techniques from the Gusu Lan clan. Sword shadows danced everywhere, emitting a pure, radiant light. Each move was elegant and proper, yet imbued with immense strength, powerful and grand. Midway through, the style of the swordplay abruptly shifted, incorporating a few swift and graceful techniques, clearly the essence of the Zhan clan's swordsmanship. The unique intricacies of the Zhan clan's techniques were executed effortlessly by him. He did not merely copy them, but added his own touches with a tinge of casual modification. These modifications were neither baseless nor pretentious, but skillfully blended with the Lan clan's swordsmanship he had demonstrated earlier. As the classic posture gradually reached its peak, the seamless transition added the finishing touch. In the final, graceful leap, Lan Wangji went all out, forcing Jiang Fengmian to step aside, unable to parry. In that fleeting moment, the blue sword light soared straight into the sky, its lingering radiance vast and boundless, echoing infinitely. The young disciples, initially captivated by the unprecedented sword techniques of the Lan clan, were now, after witnessing the culmination, exclaimed in astonishment. Amid their moment of dizziness and wonder, they felt a sense of familiarity, nudging their neighbors, heads together, engaged in fervent discussion. Jiang Fengmian steadied himself and withdrew his stance, inquiring curiously, "May I ask where these moves of Wangji came from?" Lan Wangji lowered his head slightly and replied, I practiced them together with Wei Ying. All eyes immediately turned towards Wei Wuxian in unison.